When it comes to discussing the realities of parenting, you can expect some sensitive material and occasional profanity.
Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome to Anonymous Mom, a podcast where two childhood friends reconnect to discuss mom life, adulting, and everything in between. Before we start this week's episode, I have to tell this story. My daughter's a Leo, and it's very Leo. The other day, she asked me how to spell her name. So I spell it out. And then she goes, "How do you spell God?" And so I spell it out. And then she goes, "How do you spell is God?" I just shot her a look like, and I tell her, I was like, whoa.
Yeah, where are you?
Did you just discover that you're the god of your own universe?
Yeah.
Okay, 4-year-old. That was just very Leo vibes, I felt.
That is hilarious. I love her little, like the way she asked was so
yes,
like it was so thought out. Yes, like, okay, so I'm gonna ask this, and then I'm gonna ask this, and then
this is absolutely insane. I was just like, okay.
God.
She's adorable. But this week, what are we discussing?
Oh, we're gonna discuss that elf on the fucking shelf. That number. I don't know where it came from and why.
Well, we're gonna find out because I didn't either.
Yes, well, thank you, because it's like fun that first year. I guess for me, it was fun that like 1 or 2 years, and then after that, I was like, fucking thing has to come back again and give you the dirty evil eye if you didn't move it.
Yeah, you introduce that stuff, you introduce it, and you better be prepared to follow through and keep doing it.
Yeah. When we didn't move it, I always told the girls, it just really liked that spot. It could see everything. It was like, I'm not moving because this is the best spot in the house.
Isn't that the whole point is moving it though? So
yeah, it is. And I was lazy and never wanted to move it. I didn't want to go to bed.
Oh my God. Well, like you, I had no clue where the fuck this toy came from because it looks vintage. So I just assumed it was one of those old traditions that went away and had a revival. But it turns out it's actually inspired from a 2005 book. And according to Romper, quote, Elf, which each family adopts one and gets to name it, keeps a watch on kids and reports back to old Saint Nick about whether they've been naughty or nice. The wildly successful book then gave birth to the corresponding elf toy, which parents move around the house overnight, with the elf popping up in different locations each day to keep an eye on the children. Kids can talk to their elf, but they may never touch him, or else he'll disappear forever, according to the book. So that's in the book.
Yeah.
Why do we have to add the trauma? I know Disney is all about every story has to have trauma, but do we need to make it this severe that he disappears if you touch him?
I think it's
forever.
Forever.
You adopt him,
like
and
not
then
until
disappears
next year.
forever?
Yeah. So if you do something wrong, you're gone forever.
Also, too, I love that where it's adopting him, but then he's only out for a month a year. Where does he go?
Max.
He
goes back.
If
the foster
you're
care.
you, it's like 2 days, and he just sits there.
Exactly. Yep. God.
I've never partaked, but also that style of Christmas stuff creeps me out.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of it either.
You know, like that claymation from when our parents were kids?
Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
Yeah, so the claymation, claymation, I don't know what it is, but I hate it.
It freaks me out too.
And I know for our parents, it's a very nostalgic, fond memories for them, but no, thank you.
No.
So creepy. And then where is it? Like one where you're pulling a tooth out? It's the abominable.
That's Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
Is it?
Yes,
yeah.
And it's weird.
I've blocked it out of my memories. That's how much I hate it.
All those weird. Yeah, I don't even like Wizard of Oz. That freaks me out.
Wizard of Oz
freaks me out. Freaks me out.
See that?
It freaks me out. I don't like the flying monkeys. The monkeys. It's just everything. The lion freaks me out, like their faces with all the makeup. But I don't like clowns because I don't like makeup on faces like that. Like that freaks me out because I don't know what they look like. I hate clowns for that reason. I don't like face paint. If I know you and you have face paint on, it's fine. But if I don't know you and you have face paint on, it freaks me out.
Hey, do you remember in high school when I got you that Mr. Bungle CD because it had clowns on it?
Nope, blacked it out. Blacked it out. I probably threw it right in the trash.
I wrapped it up in gift wrap and everything, and I gave it to you just to see your face.
Did I probably?
It was at lunch. I have a very vivid memory of this.
I don't at all. Probably cried.
I remember that I wrapped it up in paper, and because we were like all excited that you got a CD.
Yeah, it was me and my CD. I just brought my CD. This is weird. I found my CD case out in the garage, and I brought it in to listen to my old CDs today. I'm not fucking kidding you.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Have you listened to any yet?
No, but in our Jeep, we have a CD player. So I would I threw in the old Sneaker Pimps.
Nice.
Sneaker Pimps.
I don't think I have my CDs still. I think I got rid of all of them.
You can't get rid of that. I have still all the CD cases too. The CD cases you had to save.
You know, I should check my mom's because now that you said that, it's like, God, I really don't think I would have thrown them away, but I have no
you're too
clue.
Musically like me. Like you don't throw that shit away.
Do you remember when we went to Hooters and somebody broke in and stole my CDs?
Yes, I do. I totally
that was
remember
so
that. And we found the screwdriver in the car. Okay,
yes!
This is a whole nother podcast. We got to get back to
Elf on the Shelf.
Elf on the Shelf. Yep.
All right, we're getting back. Elf on a Shelf.
Okay.
Now, whether or not the whole Elf on a Shelf tradition is healthy for a child is up for debate among many psychologists. There are some that say believing in Santa, participating in Elf on a Shelf can foster creativity and imagination. However, others note that promoting good behavior simply to get rewards in return isn't really the best thing in the long run, which I can totally understand. Quote, it's more effective to motivate them to behave good because it's a good thing to do, says Dr. Jacqueline Woolley, who's a psychology professor at the University of Texas in Austin.
I see both ways. You know what I mean? Like there's got to be an in-between, right?
Oh, and we're going to get to the in-between. So we're going to cover everything. So that, again, this isn't about saying that this is horrible and don't do it. Right. I personally think it's creepy, but that's just my own personal opinion. There's things that I do that I'm sure people are like, what the fuck is she doing? So let's talk about that reward psychology, because that is something important for childhood development. So whether or not you participate in this is something that we do have to address just for simple, basic childhood development. Quote, when children get used to constant rewards for doing what we ask, we're training them that the reason to do what we ask is because they're going to get something out of it. And this is a quote from Dr. Laura Markham. If you offer your child a reward for stopping bad behavior, you're actually training them to misbehave in order to get future rewards. And I don't think that that's something parents think about. Now, obviously, we all do that.
Right.
You know, I mean,
it's instinctual.
There's points where it's just like, all right, if you stop doing this, I'll give you this, you know?
Right.
It's not relying on that and making that a conditional thing. Obviously, every once in a while is not going to be damaging, but if this is just because you know it works, you rely on it, you're setting your kid up to not really understand that you should just be good to be good, not because you're getting something out of it. With the whole Elf on a Shelf thing, how you actually participate with it in that tradition also factors into whether or not it's a positive experience for your children. Because even Children's Hospital's website weighs in on this debate, which I thought was amazing.
That's funny.
And again, our sources will be linked. So they say, quote, if parents feel pressure to keep up with other parents by matching or one-upping the ideas that they post on social media, or if what initially was intended as a source of joy becomes more of a burden, then maybe the Elf on the Shelf should pack up and return to the North Pole, end quote.
Oh, I shipped him away. He's gone. I sent him to another family.
Adopted him.
I think he's actually in the sock drawer, to be honest, but I have no idea.
That's weird. Okay.
Well, we had to hide him. And I never know where to hide him. They're not going to go in the sock drawer.
This is something that we brought up before, and that idea of, like, you know, the keeping up with the Joneses. And I mean, I don't see it necessarily that much now, but when it first became a craze, that one-upping and this whole making this contest outside of the actual tradition with your kids.
Right.
It became about the parents and the parents getting something out of it, and, you know, having attention on social media because of all the weird stuff that they're doing with the elf.
Right.
So it's
and
a
if you're
fine
having
line.
fun with it, and that's awesome. Like if you're doing it out of pure enjoyment for you guys, yes. But I think there was a girl who actually, which I thought was a phenomenal idea, that was on Facebook, and she sold Elf on the Shelf kits So for each day, it was a kit that you could buy to have your elf do this thing. And she monetized on it. I'm like, girl, you go. Like,
what though? Like cooking and cleaning, or
no, like something silly the elf would do. Did you see the Skittle ones? I didn't buy it. I have no idea actually what was in it. So the Skittles one, and then you put it on a plate, and then you put water, and it looks like he peed a rainbow. And then like the Hershey Kisses, like you pooped Hershey Kisses. So like that was a day. So like she sold 2 weeks of the elf. So it was like 14 things that you could do with the elf. To me, I was like, you took something that people don't want to do and made it easy for them, that maybe you do want to do it in fun, especially if they're young kids, enjoy it, and simplified it. I thought it was great.
It's when you have to make it something where you're getting, like the whole point of it is to be an activity with you and your child.
Right.
With the say in social media, making it about attention or being cool.
Right.
Or, you know what I mean? Like that's where it takes away from the...
Yes, and you can do the elf thing without posting it on social media too. That there is that thing.
Yeah, I'm posting it like, oh, this is funny, but not having to make it where like you spend all this time focused on making it. It should be effortless. Yeah. And then this is the other point. So if the primary motive is to manage a child's behavior, for example, frequently saying, well, the elf on the shelf is going to tell Santa how you're being bad, then the children will interpret this to mean that it's not their behavior that's being labeled bad, but it's them being bad.
Right.
So this is the part that I have a problem. This is my biggest problem with this tradition. If parents do call the elf to report to Santa, it should be used much more often to reinforce good behavior rather than report problem behavior. Right. Because using the elf as a threat for punishment, like saying that you're not going to have presents if you don't behave well, may be fear-inducing and contrary to the goal of using the elf to bring joy. Right. It's the threat mentality of it that I like, and that's all I see when I see it. Why aren't we using it for the positive of like, oh my God, the elf gets to report how great you were to your friends today. Right. But that you gave your, toy to your friend today. Right.
And I think it goes back to everything's focusing on the negative.
Yes.
Nobody focuses on the positives, because God forbid we do that, because it's easier to focus on the negative. Yep. And I think just as parents in general, negativity is that emotion that seems to come out. Why?
I'm not gonna lie. I didn't even think about I did not even using it like, oh my God, I get to tell the elf about how great you were to your friend today.
Until you said that, I was like, oh fuck, because I was always like, oh, just wait, Santa's gonna.
Because the fucking book, the whole point of it is that scary shit.
And I'm not gonna lie, all that you stated the above, yep, guilty.
After you said that, and I saw that part in my note, I'm like, well, here's where you come in.
And that was me. I'll be completely honest. I was always like, yeah, Santa's going to find out about how you yelled back at me. You just wait.
The fact that it's written in the book that if you touch the elf, he'll disappear forever. Like, that is so horrifying.
Yeah.
And it's triggering to us talking about those Christmas villages when we're kids.
Yeah. We're creating trauma with this elf. No, I'm just kidding.
I think that whoever wrote that book had a parent like us where they had the very expensive ceramic village that they could not touch.
It's like payback to their parents. Like, oh, you just wait. I'll show you. I'm writing a book about the fucking freaky elf. And people are going to live and die by this thing.
This book was written from their repressed trauma. Yeah. It's all making sense now.
Mystery solved.
So Dr. Jacqueline Woolley, who was cited earlier, also says, quote, there's no way to get around the fact that telling your child an elf is watching them is, well, a lie. They say, I think most parents want to keep lying to a minimum, she adds. And in a season when you're encouraging good behavior, like, not lying, this could send mixed signals to a child. So you can tell this person's really against elf on a shelf, and I love it. Because it's true.
Right, but we're also lying about Santa too. You know what I mean? That's the hard part.
Well, they bring that up too because they bring up tradition. So the idea of Santa and Saint Nick has been around so long that it's a tradition that can be referenced for how long it is. Elf on a Shelf has only been around since 2005. While this could become one of those old traditions
down the road,
how we're doing it now is going to severely impact the positive of that becoming a tradition like Santa.
Yeah.
If we can turn this around to be a positive thing.
Right.
And again,
but I'm not gonna lie, like
shame.
I can't lie. Like that's what I did with the damn elf. Like I never was positive reinforcement with that. I will say therapy
wasn't meant to be But the whole basis of it was negative.
Right. That's true.
Like, it was built on that, but that doesn't mean that that's where it has
what
to
we should be doing. Yes.
Yeah.
If you get anything out of this episode, is use positive reinforcement to report to the elf instead of the negative. And negative, tell dad. I'm going to tell your dad. You just wait. That's what I do.
Blame it on somebody else.
Yep. Then he has to take care of it.
As creepy as it is, like, knowing this now, I might actually get it and test it out with the positive.
Yeah.
It's that negative, big brother, like, you're being watched, and that's the only reason to be good is because you're being watched.
Yeah.
You should be good because it feels good to be good, and that our world is a better place when we all treat each other well.
Right.
Oh,
yeah. Weird. Huh.
Oh my God. I never thought about that.
Epiphanies.
They have another suggestion too, which is kind of fun. And especially too, like, once your kids are getting older, you could actually bust this back out with your kids. So the other suggestion they have is including your child in the tradition. The way I see that when your kids get older is taking turns on who hides the elf each night. And then so after they've grown up and they realize that whole myth is a myth.
Yeah.
An illusion. Then you can keep the tradition going by having it just be a fun family thing that you do each year. And this night I hide it, the next night you hide it, keeping the tradition going on like that, which I love. But just want to remind people too, if you are a parent who relies on rewards to encourage good behavior, which, like I said, we all do from time to time, Dr. Markham has a great suggestion to shift out of that pattern. And they say that, quote, substitute some giggly roughhousing every day for a week. And that they predict that your child will feel so motivated by a deepened connection with you that their request for bribes will just melt away, because the reward your child really wants is you. And I think that's just so cute, because, like, it's true. We get, again, because we're socially conditioned to think, of the outside stuff. And at the end of the day, your kid just wants to have that connection with you.
Yeah.
And so it's not the money and the stuff as much as it is being happy, like the feeling of being happy and connected.
I think too, a lot of kids at the end of the day, whether or not they're tired or exhausted, and they like freak out. It was funny because with my youngest, like, she is so good in school, like she holds it together, then she gets home and she's just like the Tasmanian devil, but because she held it in, and she's like, and she even knows it, she's like, I was so good in school and I come home, and it's like at the end of the day, I kind of let her get it out, and then it's like she just wants a hug. It's hard because when they are freaking out, you can't stop and think. In reality, they really just needed the connection, and they're just young and don't understand how to say those things. And I always think it's funny when people are like, my child never act that way, and if they do, it's like, that's not helping anything.
Well, and it's a balance. I mean, because
yes,
it's like,
I will say yes.
It's like with rewards, like I said, like, you can't rely on rewards. You can't rely on a specific type of discipline. So what that doctor is saying about the roughhousing is because it's redirection. And that's the biggest. So when your kid is having a temper tantrum or is acting out, redirection is what most experts suggest, because getting their attention away from whatever it is that's causing it allows them to learn to shift their brain into a more positive way of coping. And not focusing on it. And so it's like you said, get it out, but then redirect their energy to somewhere else after they've processed that emotion.
Right.
And redirection really does work really well.
It does. It's just really
not always though.
It doesn't always, but it's the harder option. And that's why
because
that's a more difficult
a certain way from your upbringing too.
So you have to change your perspective and then go and reinforce it, where the reinforcing is hard. I mean, like, let's be for real, like the easy way sometimes is just go to your room and be quiet. Whereas if you were to redirect, like, that's going to take more time and harder for a parent, but in the long run, yes, it will pay off, but I struggle with that too. So
yeah, we all do.
I think,
as much as you can say too, that you want to follow certain expert advice, at the end of the day, when you are conditioned a certain way, it takes time to break that. And so, if say you are on a path to it and then you slip up, and it's like, yeah, I mean, it takes time to learn anything. And we teach that to our kids. Right. And the older you get, the harder it is. And then
you got shit you got to redirect from. The elf on the shelf thing just always got me as like, it's the creepiness that someone's always watching you. And it's like, it reminds me of feeling like you're at home and like someone's like outside watching you the whole time. Like there's that creepiness of it. Like that's fucking creepy.
The elf on the shelf is just a peeping Tom.
Yes. It's like creepy to me. Like that's the one thing where I'm like, God, I just feel weird. Like,
it's because it is. It feels creepy because it
is. Well, what's that movie with where they're all in on it and it's got Jim Carrey? Isn't it Jim Carrey?
I don't know. You have to give me more context.
And he's like, it's a movie based on him, like his whole entire life is a movie set.
Oh, The Truman Show.
The Truman Show. Yes.
I love that movie.
Yes.
Predicted
and then always
the future.
Yeah, exactly. I go back to that where it's like everybody's watching, everybody, I don't know, just weird. But
yeah,
I get the enjoyment of it. And I think it is about fun holiday things. And yes, and it's always the extreme sometimes. It's like,
well, and I always go
back.
I always go back to what the Delphic Oracle said way back is know thyself and nothing in excess. And that is the secret to life. It sounds simple, but it's not. And taking this elf on a shelf to extreme excess and to the like, negative extremes is not good. And also too, because that's the other thing that they say is the balance of the Santa tradition too is important, like not pushing it too hard of how real Santa is.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, when you tell your kids that you've been lying to them this whole time, that's not necessarily good too. So it's having fun with the Santa tradition, but not taking it to an extreme.
Right. Right. So that when they do find out everything, it's not such a disappointment. I know not everybody does this. And I know it's kind of one of those things where it can be a touchy subject, but let's be for real. Christmas presents from Santa. Did we talk about this before?
We did.
I think most of our presents are from mom and dad. And then we do a few like Santa ones, which would be like clothes. And like there's a few fun ones in there. But like I want my kids to know that we work for us to afford these things. Santa doesn't just bring a tablet for you that you get. And I get why other people don't do that because that's the magic of Christmas. That's where they say the magic of. So like everything is from Santa. There's nothing for mom and dad. And I think it goes back again to like how you were raised, like, and that's what you liked. So that's what you're doing. So
what we just said a little bit ago is because I think I might give this a try. As creepy as I find this elf looking, you can
have mine. Do you want to adopt mine? You can adopt my elf.
Your sock drawer elf?
I think now I'm going to look in the sock drawer and see if it's really in there. I have no idea because there's a chance I may have thrown it away.
We can have like a little adoption. Like I'll come over with her and be like,
I'll make papers.
Okay, now this is putting a lot of pressure on me too to like keep up with this because we're like officially adopting.
Yeah, we do it.
Did you give it a name?
I'm sure the kids did. I have no idea.
Let me know if I like it. I'll keep it.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Not taking this to excess too with the good, not telling your kid, okay, I'm going to report all the good things you do, because then again, it's that idea that you need to be behaving a certain way to get rewards and that you only behave to get something in return. You only behave good to get something in return, and you don't want to teach that.
No.
You want to be good because it feels good, and not having stress in your life is healthier.
Right.
But please, for everybody listening, share your experiences with Elf on the Shelf, good, bad, in between.
Yeah, and if you love it and you think we're crazy.
Or if you have some of those cool ideas like you were saying of the weird, the elf shitting itself or whatever. What was it?
Yeah. And like I said, that chick, I don't remember if anybody bought one of those because I know some of our friends are listening. I know they bought them and what it all was in it. Like, I just thought it was really cool. And I remember being like, that is a genius idea. Taking the pressure out of it for the parents of doing that every night. So
yeah. I love it.
It was cool.
All right. Well, thanks for tuning in, everybody. And we will talk to you next week.
Peace out.
Thanks for tuning in to Anonymous Mom. Have a question you want answered or a topic you'd love for us to discuss?
Email us at anonymousmompod@gmail.com. Or if you want to remain anonymous, join our Facebook group, Anonymous Mom, where you can post your topic or question anonymously.
Thanks for listening.